Live yet. Oh, now we're live. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hope you are doing well. It's getting warm here in the Midwest. It's time to record episode 48 of the show. Check. Good. Got to sneeze. Of course, as soon as I start the stream, I got to sneeze. My glasses always look crooked on here. Check. Check one. Check. Got to sneeze. Of course, as soon as I start the check. Check one. Check. All right. We're as good to go as getting's good. Gonna get. Let's do this. Mike in the Midwest. Here we go. Where's that buzz coming from? Where's that buzz? Here we go. Oh my gosh, my eye itches. All right. Welcome to episode number 48 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for our amazing patrons of the Be Our Guest podcast. Happy Thursday. And thank you so much for your support of the show. I seriously cannot say that enough. I wish I could say that every single day to you. Thank you for extending some financial support of our podcast. It really does help everything we do. And you guys are carrying the load for everybody to check it out all around the world. So you are definitely spreading the Disney magic in a way there to get some good news out there. And we always try to make the podcast fun every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the Thursdays, the replays of the Sunday night shows. We try to keep everything happy, positive, and honest. I mean, we talk about things that aren't exactly perfect, but there's enough bad in the world. Let's keep it good. And that's what we try to do here with Mike in the Midwest, a little show for our patrons, kind of about growing up here in St. Louis. Some of the stuff I did as a kid, maybe some of the stuff I did as a teacher. I've also worked at Space Camp down in Alabama, Roll Tide. Just fun experiences that we've had growing up here in the Midwest. Because the thing I've noticed about doing the Be Our Guest podcast is that before I started the show in 2008, in March of 2008, really everybody I knew was just like me here in the Midwest, in St. Louis, basically, or around Missouri. Maybe some folks over in what we call the East Side, over in Illinois, but over right, in the metropolitan St. Louis area. And once I started the podcast, I found out that folks listen to the show in Arizona and California and Washington State and Wyoming and New York City and Florida and Alabama and Maine. And then I found out people listened in the UK and Belgium and down in South America and Mexico, and a lot of folks in Canada and Japan. And we've had some Australian listeners and, everywhere. And it is really humbling to know that I can sit here in our Be Our Guest podcast studios, which is a glorified studio in the basement of my house in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. And what we get to talk about here has a global audience. I think we all want to not grow up too fast. We want to still believe in the magic that Disney provides for us, whether it's a story that mom or dad grew up reading to us before bed, and now we get to walk through that experience at Walt Disney World or Disneyland, or, we get to have an encounter with that character on a Disney Cruise Line ship. Everybody listening, especially to the Patreon feed here, we truly are brothers and sisters because we believe in the magic. I truly believe that we all, especially folks in the Disney community, for the most part, we all look for the good in people first. We all give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Now if somebody burns us a few times, we learn. We're not going to always, suffer through the consequences of always looking at the good side. But I think we all tend to see the good in life. We try to see the positive in every story. We try to see the good in every person. We try to find the happy ending in every story. And that's why I love doing the podcast. I've got to talk to folks that are so different from me because they've grown up in different places under different circumstances. And I'm so thankful for that. There's folks here in St. Louis that I've met that are totally different than me, which I probably wouldn't have met because we just don't run in the same circles. And it's just, I hope that you enjoy these little stories about growing up in St. Louis and Missouri, because maybe they're similar to what you had growing up wherever you are in the world, in a different country, maybe in a different state. but maybe they're pretty similar. You see that we're all pretty much alike in the things that we enjoy, even if we do them differently and call them different things. I mean, in St. Louis, we have ravioli, but we toast them. People say that's crazy, right? Don't knock it till you tried it. Toast your ravioli, dip it in marinara sauce, and your life will be changed forever. Ooey gooey butter cake, I'm telling you, it's the bomb. You probably don't have it where you're from. Ooey gooey butter cake. If you ever come to St. Louis, I'll treat you. I'll take care of you. So if you ever come around my area, let me know. Ooey gooey butter cake, maybe an ice cream sandwich, ooey gooey butter cake cookie on me. Promise you. All right. So last week, let's hop into the feedback from last week before we get going here. And we talked about the Valley of Flowers Festival, which would have taken place a couple of weeks back here, first full weekend of May. Don't forget, I told you that. And it was our town celebration in Florissant, where I grew up for most of my life. I moved out of Florissant in 2019. We moved out here to St. Peters, Missouri. But until 2019, I lived in Florissant from 1973 on until the time I was born. And that was our little town's festival in the spring. Florissant means the Valley of Flowers in French. We had this festival. It was awesome because we had a carnival, we had a parade, we had, baseball tournaments, softball tournaments, a golf tournament, ugly dog contest, pretty baby. Maybe it was an ugly baby, pretty dog. I can't remember. We had all kinds of contests. It was a huge deal. Kids look forward to it forever. So I asked for some feedback on this, whether you had something similar to a fair or a festival in your town growing up. Megan Green, our great friend, mom of 3 triplets, says, great episode. The Valley of Flowers celebration sounds like a blast. I grew up in St. Mary's County, Maryland, and our big tradition every year is the county fair. They hold it every year in September for 4 days, Thursday through Sunday, and it's such a big deal that all the schools close on Friday for fair day, and students get discounted admission. God, I love that idea. That is great. I wish we would have gotten Friday off. That'd have been so cool. We just went to school and talked about, as soon as school's out, we're heading down to the carnival. The fair has a carnival section and all the deep fried food you could hope for, but it also has livestock shows, livestock auctions, horse pulls, tractor pulls, equestrian shows, and buildings full of crafts and canned goods and baked goods, hoping to win blue ribbons. And there is a parade Saturday morning with all kinds of local marching bands. I marched in it for 4 years, Megan says, and antique cars and fire trucks. It's such a good time that even though I don't live there anymore, we still go back every year for the fair. Does that not sound like just Americana right there? That totally sounds like, and here's the thing. So we moved out to our new place in the very end of July, beginning of August, 2019. So we were super excited. Now, the area we lived in, that we moved to now, is like the booming area of St. Louis metropolitan area. It's the next county to the west of St. Louis. It's called St. Charles County. And it's the area where everybody that lived in St. Louis County has moved west to St. Charles County. And the thing is like we live on the western edge of St. Charles County. So we're pretty far out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm 0.8 miles from Taco Bell, 0.6 miles from Chick-fil-A, 0.5 miles from Target. We're not in a rural area. I mean, we're right there. But if you travel, say 10 or 15 miles down the state highway that we live on, you're out in the middle of like wine country, Missouri. There's nothing out there but like wineries and winding roads. It's beautiful, right on the Missouri River. And the thing is, being out this way, and it's only 17 miles, as the bird flies from where we used to live. So it's not far. But where we are now, it is more of that mindset of what Megan's saying. There's a St. Charles County Fair every fall. There's a Franklin County Fair. There's a Lincoln County Fair. All the counties around us have these huge county fairs, and they bring in, big like country artists come in and sing for they're not like, I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of current music, but not like Eric Church or any of these big artists today. But it would be like, somebody that was like a big artist in the 90s, like a Travis Tritt, or like probably not a Tug McGraw or Tim McGraw. He's probably still popular, but somebody that was kind of a has-been, but had a bunch of hits maybe 15, 20 years ago. They come in and sing, do concerts. Like I think REO Speedwagon's playing in the town down from us here in a few weeks. Styx, if there's whoever is Styx now, it's probably not the same people. They're coming in, but they have these county fairs. And I was so pumped because my cousins who live down in rural Missouri in a town called Poplar Bluff, down by the boot heel of Missouri, by Arkansas, his kid, my cousin's kid, rides rodeos professionally. He's a team roper, which means, again, off topic, but here you go. A little Midwestern stuff that I had to learn too. Team roping is where they shoot the little calf out the chute and it goes running in the ring, in the rodeo ring. And there's team roping means there's two people, two guys, or it could be a guy and a girl working together on a horse. One of them catches the head with the rope, and the other person is what's called the healer. And they have to throw their lasso and get the back two legs. And then one of them has to jump, or actually they don't jump off the horse on this one. What they do is they just, once they get the head and get the two back legs, then the guy holds up a flag and they stop the time. And my cousin's kid is a pretty good healer around the country. So anyway, we go when they're around, we'd like to go to rodeos. Now that's like the ultimate thing. We'll have to talk, I'll have to do a show on that because the rodeos are crazy. I got some stories from rodeos, but they're kind of that same thing. A lot of them happen at like a county fair where you have like the 4-H club with their cows and their, all that stuff that they're getting judged, livestock auctions. They have the truck and tractor pulls. If you don't know what a truck or a tractor pull is, I'll have to talk about that in the rodeo too. Megan knows. Loudest thing. If you ever go to one in a dome, like in a football stadium, because my grandpa took us one time to one in what was called the old St. Louis Arena, which was where the Blues played when I was a kid. We went to this truck and tractor pull. I am not kidding. I'm probably can't hear still to this day because grandpa took all the kids to the truck and tractor pull when I was like 8. It was the loudest thing I had ever heard, but it was awesome. So yeah, we'll have to talk about rodeos and truck and tractor pulls. They're so much fun, but man, Megan, I would love to hit up this county fair in Maryland. This sounds like my thing. And the thing was, I was so excited because we moved out to this area in late summer 2019. And so a lot of the fairs were getting ready to happen in September and October and stuff. And we just got busy. We had just moved in, all that good stuff. And I was like, next year, bet in 2020, we're hitting all the county fairs. Now that we're out in this area, we're going to eat all the deep fried Twinkies and all the deep fried Oreos. We're going to hear all the concerts. We're going to play all the games. We're going to ride all those rickety rides at all the county fairs. We're doing it because now we're in St. Charles County. Then, of course, what happens in 2020? Nothing. Can't do anything. So hopefully this year, 2021, maybe we'll have some county fairs by the fall, with live music and rides and all that. So it looks like we could, because I just love it. There's a town called Washington, Missouri, which my dad he got his first radio gig out in Washington, Missouri. He did the morning shows. And they have a cool little town right on the Missouri River, and they do a huge fair. So maybe we'll get out to Washington. But thank you for that memory, Megan, because county fairs are awesome. They are. I mean, everybody comes together but I think it's a Midwest thing. I doubt they have county fairs in New York, even in the whole state, maybe in outstate. I know it's rural. Maybe they do have county fairs. I don't see a lot of county fairs I guess they would have them other places, but I don't know. It seems like a Midwestern thing, but maybe it's not. So let me know in the comments because I love learning about these things. This is why I love the show. I love hearing about what you do in your part of the world, how it's similar and different. So do you county fairs? I'd love to hear that. All right. And Megan, thanks for being a patron. Anthony Fuchs, thank you so much for being a patron and a good friend of mine. Anthony, sure appreciate it. He says, oh, this episode gave me such nostalgia. I grew up in Hatboro, Pennsylvania, just 17 miles from Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Hatboro was originally founded in 1715 as Hatboro, and it was spelled a little different, Borough instead of Hatboro, because the primary industry in the town was literally just making hats. The Union Library Company, where I spent hours upon hours of my childhood, was built in 1755. I love finding out stuff like this about towns like Hatboro. It's a borough where we made hats. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Florissant in French, Valley of the Flowers. What do we call our celebration? The Valley of the Flowers. Let's not hide the lead here, bury the lead. On the first Saturday of May every year, the town hosts a reenactment of the Battle of Crooked Billet, which took place in our town on May 1st of 1778. I got to play the fife once badly and never again when I was 7, which didn't mean much at the time, but now holds so much more significance after I've discovered through Ancestry DNA that I'm descended from 14 different Revolutionary War patriots, none of whom, ironically, fought in the Battle of Crooked Billet. You could say one of them did, Anthony. Just say maybe they were there. Maybe they were, I don't know, on the back lines, not the front lines. They were just there in a supporting role. That's so cool, though. And that's the thing that I'm a history buff, right? I was a teacher and I loved American history. And when I hear stories about all these folks who grew up in these areas, like Boston and Pennsylvania and Delaware and Maryland and DC and all these places where the American, the American, I feel like I'm like in the American adventure at Epcot right now, but the American experience unfolded and these patriots, fought to start our country. The history, I mean, 17 miles from Independence Hall. How cool is that? I mean, you are literally walking on ground that Benjamin Franklin probably walked on, and all these founding fathers walked on. I mean, the history was in that dirt right there. It's so cool. I love hearing about stuff like that. So Anthony, thank you so much for sharing that story. I love hearing this stuff. When I see that there's comments on the Patreon page, again, go to patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast, find today's show and just put your comments below and I'll share them next week. But man, this stuff makes my day. I love hearing this because it's so interesting. That is so cool to me. All right. So let's get to today's topic. Today's topic is one that is near and dear to me. It's a lot of fun. And it's this time of year again. We talked about the Valley of Flowers last week because that always happened at the beginning of May. As we're recording this show, it's May the 20th, 2021. And again, remember, I spent 17 years as an elementary school teacher. I taught fifth grade. Mostly I taught sixth grade. I went to fifth grade for 1 year, looped back up with those kids to sixth grade. So I taught them for 2 years. My first year, I taught second grade. Whoo-hoo, never again. Almost killed me. And then my last 9 years, I taught gifted education, grades 4 through 6. So that was a lot of fun. Small groups like 10, taught, computer programming, podcasting. I got to teach whatever I wanted. It was a great gig. But before that, of course, I was a student. And this time of year, like late May, because where I went to school here in the Midwest, we always got out of school around Memorial Day. I know on the East Coast, you guys go crazily to like the middle of June, but you also don't go back till after Labor Day. Nowadays in the Midwest, kids go back around the beginning of August. So it's kind of a wash there. But anyway, this time of year growing up, you usually had about 10 school days left, maybe 5 school days left in that area. You'd already finished all the important stuff. Let's get real. The kids know everything's done once you finish the state testing, the state assessments, right? The teachers now will all of a sudden let you maybe watch a movie at the end of the day. A lot more like logic puzzles come out instead of, having homework assignments. It's just, you're there, you're kind of putting a wraps on thing. All of a sudden you're starting to, collect textbooks here and there. You see the teachers doing what's called sectioning, which means they're building the classes for next year. They're dividing up their kids into 4 groups. So, if I talk to Tim all year, not a chance we're going to be in the same class next year. Because they're like, Mike and Tim, they talked all year. We made a mistake. One's going to be in this class. The other one's going to be in that class. Trust me, I was on the teaching end of this for years, and that's exactly what I did. I was like, I'm going to help you out next year. Even though as a 6th grade teacher, it didn't matter. They went to 7th grade. We didn't section, but all the other teachers had to do that. Anyway, back to today's topic, which is field day. Field day. When I say field day, I think you're going to get one of 2 reactions. You're going to be like, field day was the greatest, which is how I saw field day. I loved field day. I look forward to field day from like February until it happened. Some people, though, I get it, right? Field day was like, it's like gym class for 8 hours, and you hated it. No problem. So I went to, and I talked about this, I went to North County Christian School for most of my elementary school, which was a small Christian school in a Nazarene church. We only had 1 grade. In my class, there was only 1 class every year. So you were always like 6th grade had the exact same kids every year. There was only 1 group of us. But when you got to below my grade, there were 2 of every class. So they would get shuffled around a little bit. But at this time of the year, every year we had field day at North County Christian School. So most of the time I was at North County Christian School, we did not have a gymnasium for gym class. We just didn't have that. Again, there was a church school, not a lot of room. We'd play Duck, Duck, Goose in the cafeteria, the big multi-purpose room, but we didn't have a gym. But we did do a fundraiser, I think in like 4th or 5th grade, raised enough money. They built us a gym. It was awesome. We had a gym. So we got to do, dodgeball and play basketball and stuff in gym after that for like 5th and 6th grade. It was great. But what you always look forward to is in the back of our school campus, so the church campus, there was a huge field. It was a soccer field. They had a soccer field back there, kind of, right. There was like the border between the school and the neighborhood, and we'd have field day. And so before field day, you would start to, of course, the gym class would all of a sudden transition into like a track and field unit. So you would start maybe running every day, which don't get me, you guys know I run, right? And it's killing me that I'm not running the mileage that I was before I had that surgery a couple weeks ago, but I'm trying to inch back there because it's a little, I'm still trying to take it easy so I don't blow anything out. But I hated running as a kid. I just got into the running thing because of Mike Bankhead, Phil Scheingold, everybody here in the last, 7 or 8 years. I hated running. So anyway, you would, start to run more, but you would start to do like the softball toss, the tug of war, the three-legged races. And we do this in gym class for a couple weeks leading up to field day. Now, the way we did field day at North County Christian School was that you could sign up for your events. And I don't know, like if there was a minimum that you had to sign up for, maybe you didn't have to sign up for anything. But man, I signed up for every event because it wasn't like it cost anything and you had to be there every day or the whole day. So why would you not enter these competitions? Because I loved competition. Even if I knew I was going to lose, I would still do the competition rather than just sit there and do nothing. So at field day, you would get to, and again, I went to the Christian school, you had to wear a collared shirt and you couldn't wear jeans or shorts. You had to wear like Dockers or whatever, Bugle Boys or, whatever the kind of dress pants were at the time. No sneakers except for gym class. But on this day, you got to wear athletic clothes. You got to wear shorts, t-shirts. I always wore my baseball jersey, hats. You could wear your sneakers. It was just, I'm living the dream right now at 47. It's what I wear every day now that I work from home, right? I look at me right now, Disney Cruise Line ball cap, Bama t-shirt, got on my Nike sneakers and some shorts. I'm living my best life of my 7-year-old self. So you would get to, dress in athletic clothes. You would pack a lunch for this day. You always had to bring a sack lunch. Now, they didn't want you to even bring your lunchbox. They wanted you to brown bag it so that when you were done, you could just throw it away. You didn't have to worry about lunch boxes the rest of the day. So you'd pack a lunch and you'd go to your classroom like normal in the morning, sit down. The teacher would take attendance and kind of talk about the expectations and policies for field day. And it was just driving you nuts. Like you just want to get down to the field, right? And then she would walk us down to the field and you'd see all the other classes coming out and everybody would get in their assigned spots. And we had our little spots where we kind of set up like a tent, not a tent, but like a canopy where our class would sit under that to kind of stay out of the sun. Some classes would get up by the trees where there was some shade. Because again, it was late May. It could be pretty warm on some of these. Oh, and you always prayed that it didn't rain on the night before or the day of field day, because then it would get rescheduled and you're just like, oh, I've been looking forward to this. And we got some years it rained like on the makeup day and we didn't get field day. I think it happened once. Anyway, field day would happen. You would get out there. It was usually run by the PE teachers and they would take care of things, but we did things and it wasn't a big deal looking back as a teacher and as an adult. But as a kid, it was awesome because we got to be outside the entire day. And that was it. We even ate lunch outside. We didn't have recess because we were having a recess basically all day. And I know kids that didn't like, gym class probably hated this day. I never thought about that as a kid, but I did see it on the other side when I was a teacher and we did field day when I was on the other side of things. But as a kid, it was great. Like we did, you did sprint races. You would sign up and you would do like heats of the 50-yard dash. And so they would take the, top two out of this heat, go, against the top two in that heat. And you'd have semifinals and finals. And you would do like the softball throw. Now, remember when I was a kid, I played a ton of baseball. So the softball throw was money. I won that every year just because I played on all kinds of baseball teams. I was a pitcher. I was tall. I can throw things. And so I'd always win the softball toss because that's, I played wiffle ball nonstop as a kid and I was always throwing something. So the softball toss was made for me. And then you would have stuff that wasn't, necessary. It's kind of like the Senior Olympics now that I think about it, because my father-in-law did Senior Olympics and a lot of these events were the same. But we did do some fun events like the three-legged race. So you'd have to find a partner and that was always fun. You had to kind of, enter with a partner. They'd tie your two legs together and they do the three-legged races. We did the sack races with the burlap sacks, the potato sacks. So those were kind of fun. We did, if you ever go to 50s prime time, you ever see that little bit where the kid's running with I think he's got the egg on the spoon in his mouth. We did that. We did like the balloon tosses. I mean, they were just fun events, but then, dude, at the end of the day, the last event, like the closing ceremonies for the field day, the mile run, and it was on like Donkey Kong. It was like the Olympics. And the thing was, I couldn't run worth a hoot. And so I would do it and I'd barely finish. I'd probably get a cramp. I probably hated it. You had to go 4 times around the soccer field. And to this day, I just remember Jennifer Petty was this girl in our class every year, and she was always the fastest. Like, she killed us, and it killed me as a boy. You know, when you're in elementary school, you think boys got to be faster than girls. Nope, nope. Jennifer smoked us every year. And I mean, in sixth grade, she won by a mile. I mean, it was a mile race, not a literal mile, but she won where it was not even close. Like, she might, like, whoever was in second place, it was just a rumor that Jennifer was in front of them. Like, they couldn't see her. She was that far ahead, but she won. And the thing was, at the end of the day, we'd have a little, they kept track of who won what. You would get first, second, third place ribbons for all the events. It was like kind of like the Olympics. You would come up and get your event, stand on like the little platforms like we used to do in speed skating, get your medal, get a picture, and then you would go home with not a medal, just a little ribbon, but you go home with your little ribbon. And that was field day. It was always so fun. You ate with your buddies outside, like halfway through the day, like around lunchtime. It was great. Now, I will tell you that we did do this on the opposite side when I was teaching at Wedgwood Elementary. And there was an evolution of field day while I was teaching. And I only taught, I taught for like 9 years at this school. And I taught with Pam, my wife. We taught sixth grade together next door to each other. So we did everything together. Our classes were always together. It was always Bullington and Rallman's classes. We played kickball against each other. We did food drives together. Everything we did was like a group of 50. We had 25 kids each. We got married, right? We were best friends, man. Our classes worked together. It was great. But field day, when I first started there, like, cause you come in as your first year teacher and there's established routines, there's established events. So I was like, oh God, as a kid, I love field day. So I was like signed up for everything. Some of the teachers hated working field day because every teacher was required to work, I think, like 2 or 3 shifts during field day outside. And we had all kind of the same events. We had running events, throwing events, all that kind of stuff, similar events. But gosh, some of the teachers just hated the sun. They did not want to ever be outside. But you had to sign up. The principal said everybody's got to do like 2 or 3 shifts outside. So what I would do is I would just go around and find the teachers that hated being outside the most. And I'd be like, look, I'll be outside all day, but you got to cover my class while I'm inside. Because the thing was, like, by the time I was teaching, the kids didn't get to be outside all day for field day. They would have like a 3-hour section. And then the rest of the day, they'd be inside doing, fun activities, watching a movie, whatever. I guess you didn't want to get them in the sun too much. Kids are kind of weak nowadays. Not just kidding. But so what I would do is I'd find like the music teacher that hated being outside and be like, look, Mr. Riddle, I will do your outside shift for you. You just cover the kids in my class. I'll be outside. So I'd find 2 other teachers and I'd get my shift and 2 other shifts and I'd stay outside all day. And the thing was, the principal kind of liked this because I was always the guy that, I'm Mr. Microphone, right? That's what my wife always said. I was always the one out there that got everything organized, had the megaphone, the bullhorn, this is what we're going to do. Listen up, everybody. Here's how it's going to work. I'd demonstrate. We do the tug of war and we'd have a good time. I mean, we would have a good time because I had a good time as a kid at field day. And I wanted to make sure these students had that memory too. If anything else, these kids were going to have a fun field day. If you wanted to have a fun field day, some of the kids hated being out there, and I understand, but for the kids that wanted to have fun, we were going to have a fun field day because I had it when I was a kid 25 years before. And so we did that. Now, we didn't have really many awards. We didn't give out ribbons or anything. We just kind of gave attaboys kind of to everybody. But here's the thing. Field day during my time at Wedgwood came from a competitive kind of situation like it was when I was a kid to what we called cooperative day. And so it became more, instead of competitive activities, more cooperative and team building activities all day. Like we busted out the parachute and we did the parachute and did all these maneuvers like you do when you're 6, even with 6th graders. And we did all these, like, get the ball from point A to point B doing this, this, and this. And there was not any competition. It was just all about let's all work together to accomplish a goal, which there's a time and a place for that. I get it. Nobody's feelings get hurt because nobody's a winner and nobody's a loser. But I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I was just like, I lost big time in the mile run because I was slow. It didn't scar me too bad, but I like the chance to win stuff too. So it was kind of funny because I always joked with Pam. That's when we got soft, is when we changed field day from first, second, third place in a 3-legged race that was just for fun anyway, or a sack race or a softball throw or a mile run, to cooperative activities where there were no winners and no losers. We just all felt good about getting the ball from one side of the soccer field to the other without using our hands. It was funny. It was fine. I mean, it is what it is. And we got to get outside and get activity. That's what it was all about. But I just always thought that was kind of funny. One other thing I want to throw in here as we kind of wrap up field day and in today's Mike in the Midwest. Hope you're enjoying the show and maybe sharing some laughs. And it's more importantly, I want to hear your memories. Did you love field day? Did you hate field day? What was different about your field day? Was it competitive? Was it cooperative? Would you do anything different now if you were in charge of field day? I want to seriously drop by the page and let me know because I love this stuff. Now, last thing is this really wasn't field day, but this was a field day that I built on our own with Pam's class. So there were 50 of us. And this was not field day, but this was in, say, like April or March. So every year, you probably know this if you have kids or if you, obviously you went through school, there's state assessments that you have to take for about 2 weeks in the spring. We called it spring testing. In Missouri, it's called MAP, M-A-P, Missouri Assessment Program. And those are the tests that they shut down the school. Everybody's taking the test at the same time. Everything's got to be consistent. Everybody's got to be doing the same thing. And it's a big deal. No homework those weeks, all that kind of stuff. So we would get the kids ready for the MAP test, say February and March. We'd start reviewing skills, in all your content areas and also test taking skills. And so this one year, this was so fun. This one year, Survivor was still super new and super popular, the TV show Survivor on CBS. And so we had a door decorating contest to promote test taking skills and all that. We decorated our door. Well, I had some of my sixth grade girls do it because they were way more artistic. They decorated in a Survivor theme with like an alligator. We're going to survive the test and we're going to thrive. We're going to outwit, outlast, and outplay that MAP test or whatever. It was something like that. But the thing that we did that was so much fun is outside our classrooms where Pam was next door in my classroom at the end of the school, we had the kindergarten and first grade playground, which our playground was at the other end of the building. I don't know why, but our windows looked out over this cool little playground that the younger kids, the primary kids, got to play on. And it was more of like a fort with like a slide and a fireman's pole and like a little jungle climbing thing. And so I thought about this and I thought, well, this would be kind of cool. Like my kids all like Survivor because at the time, sixth graders were really everybody. Like it was all over. Everybody watched Survivor. It was huge. And so what we did was I went out to the jungle gym one day as schools. Like I did all the stuff the night before, but I put information on like the crow's nest of the playground equipment. And I put like a sign on the fireman's pole and on the top of the jungle gym and on the slide. And the thing was, we divided the classes up into like 4 or 5 tribes each. So we had like 8 or 9 tribes. We got them all different colored, like crepe paper to wrap around their heads to denote their tribes. And then they had to go around this obstacle course. It was like a challenge. It was like an immunity challenge. And what they had to do was they had to go up, they could go whatever order they wanted, and they had to get like these challenges done, but it related to the content areas. So, we'd send one team up to the crow's nest and up there, they might have to solve, 3 equations as a tribe of 6. And so they'd have to work together to solve some kind of a math equation. Or, maybe over in the jungle gym, the challenge was, some kind of, giving some kind of scientific information from the past year that they have to know for the state test. And so we did that. And so what it was an outside review, but it had physical activity. It tied into Survivor and everybody won because everybody got to be a part of a team. Even if you didn't know the solution, the focus of that was that your whole tribe, because I could pick anybody and Pam could pick anybody from any tribe to have to give the answer. So when you came up to present your answer, it wasn't always the smartest kid who got to give the answer for the whole tribe to bail everybody out. I could say, Mike, give me the answer to the solution over on the jungle gym, the scientific immunity challenge. And then they would have to describe it. And the problem was, so what I told the kids was, if this kid doesn't understand it, you have to teach it to them so they can articulate it to me, because that's the only way you get and we had like little idols or little, tokens. They had to collect all these tokens to win. And it was a lot of fun. I just remember that my kids still talk about that when I run into them to this day. Remember when we played Survivor to review for the MAP test? I was like, it was the greatest. That's my kind of teaching. If I could do that every day, I would do that every day, because kids learn best that way and teachers get fired up because you get to be creative. Anyway, so that's kind of my field day stories. I cannot wait to hear your field day stories. Did you have field day? What were your thoughts on it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have special events? And did it maybe for your kids? Did it change from competitive to cooperative? I don't know. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. Who knows? But anyway, thank you so much for being a supporter of the Be Our Guest podcast. I can't thank you enough for that. Sincerely, thank you so much. It really does help everything, supports everything we do. So you all stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. See you later, everybody.